What makes INFJs look creepy to others sometimes is not that they are malicious or sinister, but rather that their depth, intensity, and intuitive abilities often go far beyond what most people consider normal. This creates a sense of unease in those who encounter them, leaving others with the impression that INFJs operate on a wavelength that is both fascinating and at the same time strange. One of the most strikingly creepy things about INFJs is their uncanny ability to read people. They don't just listen to your words. They peel back the layers of your tone, your gestures, and your energy, and before you know it, they are articulating things you haven't even admitted to yourself. To the INFJ, this is not a party trick, but a natural result of their finely tuned intuition and empathic radar. Yet for those on the receiving end, it feels like being mentally undressed, exposed in ways that no one else has ever managed. There's a sense that INFJs can peer into your soul, bypassing masks and facades, and that awareness can be comforting and at the same time terrifying. Their relationships with other people are also filled with strange moments. An INFJ can grow attached to someone and seem to know precisely when that person needs support, even before they've asked. They'll send a text at the exact moment you're breaking down, or show up with advice that feels too specific to be coincidence. Friends often call this serendipity or divine timing, but the INFJ knows it is their intuition at work, weaving threads of unseen patterns into clear insights. This psychic-like quality can leave others whispering to themselves, "How did they know?" Yet, while their foresight feels magical, it can also feel invasive, as though INFJs are operating in a dimension of human connection that leaves little room for privacy. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Mastery course today. The link is in the description of this video. There's also their tendency to retreat into secrecy. INFJs are paradoxically open and closed. They can make you feel like the most important person in the world, sharing parts of themselves that are vulnerable and raw, only to withdraw into an impenetrable silence without warning. They keep vast reservoirs of their inner lives hidden, carefully curating what others can see. People often sense there is more to them than meets the eye, but no matter how hard they try, they can never quite access it. This aura of mystery, combined with their habit of disappearing when overwhelmed, can come across as ghostly, almost as if they are phantoms who drift in and out of your life at will. INFJs have a way of holding grudges, or keeping mental notes that feels creepy. Though they may appear forgiving and gentle, they rarely forget deep betrayals or patterns of toxic behavior. They will store this information quietly, without revealing their hand, until the moment comes when they either cut someone off completely or use those observations to strike with chilling precision. What makes this creepy is not the act itself, but the silent way in which they gather details and the swiftness of their final decision. To be suddenly exiled from an INFJ's inner circle is to feel the icy edge of a judgment that was long in the making, carried out with quiet finality. Their imagination, too, carries a dark and haunting quality. While they can create beautiful visions of a better world, they're also prone to spiraling into thoughts that are morbid, apocalyptic, or disturbingly complex. INFJs can envision every worst-case scenario, dissecting human motives, betrayals, and future tragedies with unsettling clarity. Their tendency to daydream about alternate realities or to envision events with cinematic intensity often makes them appear detached from the present, as though their minds dwell in realms far removed from the everyday. To those around them, this intensity can be disorienting, leaving the impression that INFJs are wandering through psychic landscapes that others cannot access. Another creepy thing about INFJs is how they mirror people. In their desire to connect, they subconsciously adapt to the emotional wavelength of the person they're with. They may pick up mannerisms, speech patterns, or emotional states without even realizing it. While this makes them incredibly easy to talk to, because people feel understood and reflected, it can also feel uncanny, almost like staring into a version of yourself you didn't know existed. The subtle mirroring can leave others wondering, who is the real INFJ? It is as though the INFJ's identity is fluid, a shifting mask molded by the people and energies around them. There's also the INFJ's quiet intensity. They can sit silently in a room, eyes piercing, mind weaving webs of understanding, and their presence alone unsettles people. They don't need to say much, but when they finally do, their words cut through pretense with surgical precision. It is not uncommon for INFJs to say things that seem prophetic, eerie in their accuracy, leaving others to replay their words long after the conversation has ended. Their energy is never loud, but it is potent, and it has a way of lingering, haunting people in ways that can't be explained. INFJs have a tendency to withdraw into solitude for long periods, without warning or explanation. Unlike other introverts who simply enjoy alone time, INFJs vanish with a kind of ghost-like quality, slipping away from social connections to retreat into their inner sanctum. Friends may suddenly realize they haven't heard from them in weeks, only to have the INFJ reappear as though nothing happened, smiling warmly, but offering no real explanation for their disappearance. This inconsistency feels disconcerting, almost as if they live on the border between worlds, vanishing into their own psychological labyrinths whenever reality becomes too overwhelming. Their fascination with symbolism and hidden meanings can also appear strange to other people. INFJs are not satisfied with surface explanations. They peer into dreams, signs, coincidences, and cryptic remarks, weaving them into a tapestry of meaning that others may find far-fetched or unsettling. To the INFJ, nothing is ever random. Every slip of the tongue, every repeated number, every song that plays at just the right time carries significance. While this gives their lives a depth and richness others envy, it can also seem spooky, as though they are always searching for something unseen, reading omens in the fabric of everyday life. INFJs also have a peculiar way of fixating on people. While their empathy makes them gentle and caring, it also drives them to form intense bonds that can feel overwhelming. They may spend hours analyzing a person they care about, journaling about their moods, motives, and wounds, as though they are conducting a private psychological case study. For the INFJ, this is born of love and a desire to understand, but for the person on the receiving end, it can feel like they're under a microscope, constantly scrutinized by a quiet observer who knows more about them than they know about themselves. The INFJ's creativity, too, often takes a creepy form. They are drawn to art, writing, and music that explores the darker sides of existence: loneliness, despair, unspoken longing, and mortality. Their journals, poems, or sketches may be filled with imagery that unsettles others, revealing a fascination with melancholy and shadows that clashes with the warm, smiling exterior they present in daily life. This duality, of appearing gentle yet carrying a deep well of darkness inside, creates a tension that people sense even if they can't articulate it. It feels as though INFJs harbor a secret world of beauty and sorrow that they reveal only in glimpses. INFJs are good at predicting outcomes in relationships and situations with alarming accuracy. They might casually warn a friend about a potential betrayal or foresee a conflict long before it manifests. And when their predictions come true, it leaves people unsettled. Unlike logical forecasting, INFJs rely on an intuitive gut knowing that feels inexplicable, almost supernatural. People may joke about INFJs being witches or prophets, but underneath the humor lies a genuine unease at how often their quiet hunches prove right. Their ability to detach emotionally when they choose is also strange. Though they are natural nurturers and often deeply invested in others, they can flip a switch and shut off their feelings if they decide a relationship no longer serves them. This cold, surgical detachment stands in stark contrast to their usual warmth, making it feel as though they've transformed into a completely different person. For those on the receiving end, this sudden withdrawal feels chilling, as if the INFJ has erased them without a trace from their emotional world. There is something quietly spectral about their presence itself. INFJs often leave a lingering impression, even when they're gone. People describe feeling seen by them in a way that never fades, or recalling a single conversation years later, as though it just happened. It's as if their energy imprints itself onto the people and places they touch. This haunting quality of leaving behind echoes of themselves makes INFJs unforgettable in ways that can feel both beautiful and eerie. INFJs have a strange way of holding conversations in their minds long before they ever speak the words aloud. They rehearse dialogues, arguments, or heartfelt confessions so thoroughly in their inner world that when they finally open their mouths, it can feel as though they are reading from a script that was written long before you arrived. This can unsettle people who sense that the INFJ's words carry an intentionality and premeditation that makes spontaneous interaction feel strangely choreographed. It gives the impression that the INFJ has lived through the exchange multiple times already and knows where it will lead. They can stare at a person with unbroken intensity. INFJs often observe others silently, their gaze lingering long enough to make people shift uncomfortably in their seats. They aren't necessarily aware they're doing it. Lost in thought, they may be quietly piecing together fragments of someone's inner world, but to the person being observed, it feels like being pinned under a spotlight. This unflinching eye contact, soft but penetrating, makes people feel as though their secrets are slowly unraveling. INFJs often seem detached from the present, as if they are living several steps ahead or behind everyone else. They may recall something you said years ago with startling clarity, even when you yourself have long forgotten it. They are equally likely to drift into envisioning a future that feels so vivid and detailed that they speak about it as though it has already happened. This temporal fluidity, being anchored both in the past and the future, creates a sense that they move through time differently, almost like travelers peering into alternate realities. INFJs also have a peculiar way of testing people without their knowledge. Instead of confronting someone directly, they may drop hints, create subtle scenarios, or ask layered questions to see how a person reacts. They quietly observe the outcome, filing away the responses as data points for their intuitive analysis. For those unaware of what's happening, it can feel eerie to later discover that the INFJ has been drawing conclusions about them for weeks or months, all based on interactions they didn't even realize were under examination. Also, their ability to blend into environments almost invisibly makes them appear strange to others. INFJs have a natural chameleon-like tendency to adjust their energy to match the room they're in. They can be present for hours in a group setting, contributing little, yet afterward, they will recount in vivid detail the dynamics, tensions, and unspoken exchanges that took place. People are often shocked at how much the INFJ noticed while being so quiet. It feels as if they slip into the background like shadows, silently gathering everything without ever being fully seen themselves. There's also the strange duality of their calmness in moments of crisis. When chaos erupts, most people panic or scramble, but INFJs often go eerily still, their minds shifting into a hyper-clarified state. They begin offering guidance or making decisions with an almost unnerving steadiness, as though they had anticipated the disaster all along. Others may find comfort in this composure, but there is also something slightly haunting about the way INFJs seem to thrive in crisis, like storm prophets who find their clarity in the turbulence that terrifies everyone else. INFJs have a way of planting ideas in people's minds with such subtlety that the recipient believes the thought was their own. They use carefully chosen words, soft nudges, or stories with layered meanings that slowly bloom in another's consciousness days or weeks later. By the time the realization takes root, the INFJ has already moved on, leaving behind the eerie sensation that they shaped your thinking from the shadows without ever appearing forceful. It feels like psychological sleight of hand, the quiet influence of someone who knows exactly how to bypass resistance and slip into the subconscious. INFJs have an almost haunting way of holding on to silence that feels weighty rather than empty. When others go quiet, it's often awkward or unremarkable, but when an INFJ chooses not to speak, the stillness is loaded with meaning. Their silences feel deliberate, like they are measuring every vibration in the air or waiting for the right moment to pierce the quiet with something profound. People often find themselves filling the gap nervously, confessing more than they intended, while the INFJ listens like a silent confessor. That ability to create a vacuum that pulls secrets out of others can feel deeply unsettling. Their dreams, too, can sometimes be very strange. INFJs frequently report vivid, symbolic dreams that they can recall with incredible detail, sometimes even connecting them to real-life events in uncanny ways. They may wake up and tell a friend about something that later unfolds eerily close to the dream's imagery. To them, dreams are not idle fantasies but coded messages, and they interpret them with the seriousness of a mystic reading an oracle. For those around them, this link between their inner dream world and outer reality feels otherworldly, almost supernatural. Another creepy thing about them is their habit of vanishing emotionally even while present physically. An INFJ might sit across from you, nodding and smiling, but their energy has retreated so far inward that they feel unreachable. People sense this sudden absence, like talking to someone behind a glass wall. What's disturbing isn't just their withdrawal, but the way it happens mid-conversation, leaving others feeling abandoned without explanation. It's as though they flicker between planes of existence, here one moment and gone the next, without moving an inch. INFJs are also strangely drawn to the shadows of human nature. They often want to understand not just goodness and light, but the darker corners of people's minds, their fears, vices, and repressed desires. They will ask questions that cut close to the bone, probing into the taboo or the painful with a calm curiosity. While they approach this darkness without judgment, others can find it unnerving to have their innermost flaws exposed so gently, yet so unavoidably. It feels like standing naked in front of someone who sees beauty even in your scars, but the exposure itself can be terrifying. INFJs also have a strange knack for making people confess things they never planned to reveal. Their attentive listening and lack of overt judgment lure others into pouring out secrets they have never spoken aloud. When it's over, people often feel both relieved and unsettled, wondering why they said so much and how the INFJ managed to draw it out of them. It's not manipulation in the malicious sense, but there is something undeniably uncanny about how effortlessly INFJs can unlock the vaults of other people's hearts. While many dread the end of relationships, projects, or life phases, INFJs often see endings as inevitabilities they've long prepared for. They can sense the slow unraveling of things before anyone else does, and when the moment comes, they step into it with a strange serenity. Others may find it strange how calmly the INFJ accepts what feels devastating, almost as if they made peace with it long ago. This quiet acceptance, while wise, can leave those around them wondering just how far ahead the INFJ saw the fall coming. If you want to truly understand yourself and unlock your full potential as an INFJ, check out the INFJ Mastery course today. The link is in the description of this video.